CMUA project delivery, is that right?
Yeah.
Is that the one that we've come to?
1960.
And that's why we've got Linda Gibb at the end of the table, along with Barry Bragg, the chair of CMUA Project Delivery Limited. So, sorry?
We have Steve Ryan on Zoom.
Oh, hello, Steve. Welcome.
Hi.
It's good to
Thank
have
you.
you. It's good to have you here. You're up in Auckland, I take it.
Thank you. Yes, I'm not sure if you can hear me, but yes, that's
Yes,
correct.
no, I can hear you very well. Thank you very much for being here.
Excellent. Thank you.
Right, so if I hand
We've
over-
also got Gil Cox and Richard Peebles
we
are on
have
the board
got
as well.
Bill Cox and Richard Peebles at the
and
table.
Caroline.
Not at the table, but behind us. Thank you very much. A full team. Thank you. Right, so I hand over to you.
So the first of a number of papers up is the intentions and expectations document. I was thinking that I would take it as read and that we would respond to any questions.
Yes, no, that's absolutely fine. We've also had a briefing on it as well. So are there any questions from councillors on this? Yanni?
Just picking up on the previous feedback that we've given through the briefing is to incorporate reference to the Pacific community in terms of St. Paul's and also the special historic significance of the site. So I just wondered if we could add like just a few words into the statement of expectations so that it was
Statement of intent.
so that, you know, there's a lot of other stuff that's referenced, and I just wondered if we could incorporate something specifically.
So, kia ora, Yanni. I think we've got it covered, and I'll explain why. So, one of the performance requirements that we've set out in the statement of intent is a engagement and communication plan with all the major stakeholders, and that will be reported back to council on a quarterly basis. Obviously, the Pacific community are a key stakeholder. So in our first report back, we will cover all of those key stakeholders, including the Pacific community, as part of that report back. So I think it's already covered in the statement of intent.
I guess I just feel a bit concerned given that we've had submissions to the LGP, we've had previous commitments undertaken, we've had
Why don't we make a commitment that in that first report back, we will cover off the engagement with the Pacific community.
but what I don't understand is why wouldn't we put it in the letter of expectation?
Well, don't you think we should record all, well, if we're going to do that, why don't we record all the major stakeholders then?
Well, just because I think there's a special relationship with this community because of the history of the site.
Nigel's ready to go.
But
Nigel, do you want to make a...
yeah,
If I can help out, so in terms of when we talk about St Paul's Trinity Church, the special relationship, I've undertaken with the Reverend Akasi intended to go through and we will do a collection of the history of the church and of the site, and then once we've completed that, then we'll talk about how we represent that through potentially community outwork or whatever that's going to be. We've got a follow-up meeting with them tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock just to confirm what that working group's going to look like. So I think confidence it's going to be part of the engagement, and just want to be really clear in terms of the engagement with St Paul's is quite different from the Pacific community. The Pacific community is far wider than that. St Paul's is in terms of a specific group to go through. So just want to make that as we go through because it's quite different.
right.
But that's what we're doing. So I think Barry's suggestion to bring that back as part of the engagement plan and update in the first quarterly report exactly how we're going in terms of might be an ideal way to go.
I think that reflects the council's expectations because it was such a significant piece of the landscape, and it was a Pacific church and a heritage one, category 1 building as well, and it's significant that the site that will become, the multi-use arena is connected with our Pacifica community through the church. So that's a very good response to that. Thank you very much.
And can I just check? The only other thing is, just note in the letter of expectation that, sorry, there's just so many things to read, but there's an approach there that talks about looking at other opportunities, and so like one of the requests we've had as through the youth advisory committee is a space for young people in the inner city. We've just seen, obviously, that their facility was demolished. So in terms of, as you go through the process, the idea of looking at synergy with other types of activities to have kind of active use of the space, are you able just to give us a sense of kind of the appropriate ways in which that can that we can input into that? Because I think it's really good that you've got it in here, but I don't quite understand the process.
We're happy to take any leads from any of the councillors on stakeholders we should engage with. So we are in the process of developing that engagement plan. So if you've got specific groups you want us to engage with, please put them forward and we'll include them as part of the plan.
And we just to say, through this whole process, even through from the investment case, we did and have worked with the youth side of our city and engaged with them throughout the whole process. So they have been engaged in the process today, and they're also doing a youth audit as well on the particular facility as well. So it's an ongoing engagement, if you will, through not only user groups but also carrying out that youth audit as well on the facility itself, which is quite an important part of what we're developing.
So I think what I've got from all of this, though, because I think sometimes around this table we occasionally stray into the minutiae and into the weeds, as it were. I mean, this is an exciting project for Christchurch, and I've got that from the statement of intent. And perhaps do you want to just comment on that from the? This is the best thing
Absolutely.
that's happening,
Oh, well, this is a time for us with the public launch of the statement of intent to really go out and build the profile for the CMUA. So we began that last week with issuing the first design images, and we've had a lot of positive feedback around that. At the end of January, the council are aware that we are going to go through the preliminary designs, and it gives us a real opportunity to go to a number of stakeholders with an organised program of presentations so that we can start building that excitement around or the profile for the CMUA. And in addition to that, give them regular project updates. So it's not just about the project, it's what are we going to be using the CMUA for, and how is that going to achieve the strategic objectives that the council set out for the CMUA around building the regional economy, building experiences for our community, etc., etc. So this is a pivotal moment, and from here on in, there will be a real reset in communications and engagement for all those user groups that we've just referred to around the facility and the use of the facility going forward.
And the only other thing that I'd like you to comment on just before we come to the resolution is the significance of the relationship with the operator Venues Ototahi and that structure, their whole kaupapa that they bring to the project.
So it's a three-way partnership between council, the CMUA project delivery organisation and Venues Ototahi. So success will be measured around not only achieving the specifications and all the key requirements of meeting the expectations of council, but making sure that we deliver a facility that meets the expectations on whole of life, the experiences that the users are going to get from the use of the facility. So Venues Ototahi have a key role in signing off on the specification as we work our way through the various design stages, right up until approval of the design and construction contract, but building that profile so that by the time this facility becomes available, it's a successful launch and a successful response or return relative to the investment case. So that's why we have the chairman of Venues Ototahi on the board as a board member, and the chief executive from Venues Ototahi is a key advisor to the board. So Venues Ototahi will be taking the lead on building the profile for the CMUA from here on in. And the CMUA Project Delivery Board will be providing the project updates. Building profile, project updates. So that relationship is fundamental.
Very good. Now, Sam, did you want to move it? Is that...
Well, if no one else does, I will. But
Did you have a question? No. Okay, Sarah.
Kia ora, thanks so much for that. Really thorough going over of things. I'm just wondering, there's a lot of stuff in here about using council's procurement policies, those kind of things, which at this stage I think have a 15% kind of sustainability weighting. There's no specific reference to living wage for the company and contractors in either the letter of expectations or the statement of intent, but it isn't in their enduring statement of expectations, and I'm wondering how that's going to be incorporated.
So we're required to be compliant with the full procurement policy, so that'll definitely be part of that. I'm happy to.
Yeah, I was going to say,
defer
are you referring to the process that we've gone through and the documentation? Because part of the evaluation was about every entity that we went through in the evaluation process. It is an actual something they have to attain about having all staff on the living wage.
That is in
or
there,
is
though. Yeah.
It was through our procurement planning and through our evaluation process that's what the objective was, to meet that, and the targets they had to meet were that, and they did meet that. Are you talking about the life of the project or the?
Yeah, that's. I mean, I'm talking about the life of the company working on the project, if you like. So while the company is using council processes and policies, and we have our own one, I'm just making sure that because the company is again separate to council, and just making sure, because that's in the statement of enduring expectations, it just wasn't specifically mentioned like it is in the other companies. For living wage, that's all.
Yeah, so it is in our policies, our procurement policy, and the company is working with council to deliver, again with our policies being the master plan, if you will.
I'm just making sure that the where commercially viable part doesn't interfere with that, because I don't want those who are, paid less than living wage, for example, working on this and then not be able to afford to actually attend it, if you know what I mean.
So it cascades down through the process. So it's a responsibility of the Kōtui Consortia. It's a B6 Watt Pack objective they have to meet. It's part of their PCSA engagement, and the plan to go into a DNC contract will be the same status as well. So they've
That's
got
really cool.
Yeah, so it's all the way through the system. So
it would actually be really nice to see that on paper. That's all, since it's been done anyway.
It's written down. Plus, they've got they've got objectives. Oh, so you mean in the statement?
But in the
of
statement of intent kind of thing,
okay.
it's that kind of like our other companies have, and CMUA Project Delivery Limited. It's just
It is. It's not. I don't think it's recorded in the statement of intent, but it's certainly recorded through our processes that we've got it in place, and we've appointed on that basis, and they have to report into the board with how they're achieving those targets that they agreed to meet.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if it's worth just adding it in.
The other way we can deal with it is through the assurance management plan, so we can report back that we've got assurance from Kōtui that they are meeting that requirement.
Yeah, that would be
so
great.
maybe as part of the DNC recommendation, we can come back with that.
That would be fantastic. Thanks.
Are you happy with that approach, or?
I don't think there's any harm in adding it into the wording of
Okay. Yep.
Fine, we can.
Have you
add it
got
to the
some
local
words for us to pop in here?
I think rather than thinking
yeah.
of some words, we need to do the same approach that we've done for the other statements of intent, and that could be your request, is that we use the same wording that have been utilised in our other statements of intent for our other companies.
Sure, yeah, fine.
Okay, so we'll just we'll
Agree
just
to
note
amend
that we don't need to write it out. Yeah, Aaron.
Just a clarity on that. With an apprentice, are they excluded from the living wage process? Because a lot of apprentices get less, and I'd hate to see a project like this go through and all apprentices are excluded from working there because of the wage scale of being an apprentice. Does anyone know?
No.
They're excluded?
Apprentices are always catered for separately.
Yeah.
So they are, okay, just clearing
You
it
can
up.
still have a living wage approach, but still have apprentices.
Just
that
double checking.
are
Wouldn't want an
working their way
unintended
up to
consequence.
I think worth noting as well, again through the procurement process, it was one of those objectives that was prescribed by the procurement plan, was to ensure what engagement have we got with the local community in regards to employment, but also training and even graduate employment as well. So how do we go through the base trades training process, but also how do we employ graduates as well through this process? And we have had those that information provided back to us as part and parcel of the procurement process. And it's another measure that they have to, or KPI that they have to meet through this process. So it's an ongoing journey that they're on. So as when they employ, they will get more and more information on the graduates that they're employing, or the trained apprentices that they're bringing through the system as well.
Yeah, and I'd be very surprised if any of the trades servicing the building had anyone paid even close to the living wage, I would have thought. But, I mean, I'd love to get that list of tradespeople.
All right, so any other questions? Jimmy?
One question is a sequence, timing sequence, because this draft statement intent was based on the original November of the last year, am I right? But even you mentioned would like to have minor amendment, but over the year up to now, more than 1 year, I'm not sure,
What are you focusing on the letter of expectations?
Letter of expectation and also will be affect the statement of intent. So this minor one we have not yet issued to you.
It's based on the latest letter of expectation.
That's right. So the statement of intent was based on knowing that the letter of expectations was being adjusted in this.
I know, but that's 1 year ago. So we'll have our environment
we're
change.
Adjusting it today.
Yes.
That has been communicated to them. They have drafted their statement of intent knowing that this will be the changed letter of expectation.
So a minor amendment regarding to this the letter of expectation, no any impact to your current statement of intent.
No,
right?
they've drafted
Not anyone.
They've drafted it with that in mind, Jimmy.
Okay.
Yeah, it's clear that was asked
Yes.
and answered.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Right, any other questions? Would someone like to move this? Jimmy Chen, seconded by Sam McDonald. Any debate? I'll put that motion. Oh, Sarah.
Just quickly, I'll be voting against because I disagree with the deliverable over the 30,000.
Right, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. That's carried. And note Councillor Sarah Templeton.